welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Price of Business. Guest hosting today, I am Bill Knapik, sitting in for Kevin Price. And now we have one of the sponsors of our show, Marc Krasney. He is with the Krasney Law Firm. Marc, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thanks, Bill. Doing well. How are you doing?
Very good, and excited to be here sitting in for Kevin. And we hear so much about your law firm, Marc. Please give the listeners an idea. Give them a general overview about your firm.
Yeah, you bet. We did something kind of revolutionary about 8 or 9 years ago, which we took our law firm and tried to make it like a company's in-house counsel for a very reasonable fee. So for a monthly retainer, whether you use it or not, kind of like an insurance policy, you get access to a law firm. So if you need a contract reviewed, a document reviewed, a phone call, a question answered, things like that are in the general realm of most people's businesses, they get us. So no surprise bills, no hourly rates, and it really is like having an in-house counsel next to the president or vice president or whoever on a very reasonable scale.
That sounds very, very nice. And also, one of the things that come to my mind is if I'm a corporation, knowing that fee in my budget, that certainly helps, and from surprises that come along the way, right?
Yeah, most businesses don't get involved with the law firm until there's a problem. So there's a lawsuit, some big issue comes up, and at $300, $400, $500 an hour, those numbers add up pretty fast. I don't really understand how a business could even possibly budget for it. So we try to get involved earlier. We try to be involved when those decisions are made before the big issue comes up. We hope to sit in the management team meetings to discuss what's happening, be a part of the strategy, and when some issue comes up, we tackle it then. So many businesses wait. They wait till the back end. They figure, whatever. We hope there's not a problem with that. We'll just let it ride. And then when there's a problem, now what do we do? Hopefully we have the money as a business to pay for the lawyer.
Now, it would seem, too, Marc, would you say then when someone uses your services and you talk about a big event and people not calling an attorney until that event or trouble appears, it sounds to me like if they have an in-counsel attorney model like you provide, that they could actually prevent big things from happening by having access to your legal counsel along the way.
Well, that's kind of the business model. We try to do that. I mean, obviously there's no guarantees, but if there's an issue that comes up in the business, we figure most business owners are good at that service or making that widget. And so when that issue comes up, we'd like that phone call. We'd like that letter, the email. Hey, Marc, hey, firm, what do we do on this instance? What's your counsel here? What's your opinion? And hopefully with that kind of advice early on, you're right, we can prevent some of those things that happen much, much later on in the business.
Well, also, how often, say, can people give you a call if there's not a pressing issue? Can they call you anytime and just say, hey, Marc, we're thinking about this. What should we know from a legal perspective?
So that's always been the big question. How often do we get to use you? And what we do is, this is a relationship of trust. A lawyer is a fiduciary obligation to the client. Well, what we say is, at the very beginning, what kind of needs do you have, client? Are you just looking for the general insurance policy where, it's kind of like your car insurance. You hope you never use it, but it's just nice to have. Mm-hmm. Or are you truly looking for a day-to-day in-house counsel that is going to need to be involved much more often? And based on that initial conversation is how we set our retainer. And most of our clients probably call us or use us 2 or 3 times a month. That's the norm. I have 1 or 2 that keep us on a much busier scale, but it just really depends on the business, the needs of the customer, and really what kind of business they're in.
Well, so you tailor it to that individual client and customer.
That's the plan.
Tell people, if you would, the area that you serve. We know you're right here in Houston, Texas, but what geographic area do you serve, Marc?
We try to do all around the Houston area. Most of our business is mobile, so that simply means email, phone calls, things like that. I actually have a handful of clients, believe it or not, I've never actually laid eyes on. And so it just depends. I mean, anywhere in Texas is the general idea, but most of our clients are in and around the general Houston and vicinity.
Also, I want to point out to the listeners as well that you have a tremendous website, and one of the components of your website are past appearances on The Price of Business. So people can hear you talk today, and they can also go back and hear some of the previous topics that you've talked about on this show, and I think even some other shows you have on there.
Yeah, in fact, I think I've been with Kevin on 2 or 3 past radio show affiliates. I think is CNN and one other. So I've been around for a bit. So certainly there is a pretty big wealth of, shows out there, and even some articles and things like that we try to contribute to.
Well, let's tell people also the website. Tell them your website, please.
Yeah, you bet. It's KrasneyLawFirm.com.
Very nice. Also, Mark, what are some of the things that are going on right now that you want people to know about?
I was thinking about that, and one of the biggest things I would say for most of your listeners is how to negotiate a contract. And again, going back to my original comment, which was most business owners are good at making the widget or doing that service. They forget that they can also get involved in negotiating a contract. And so when their vendor or their customer sends over a document, so many times, I think you'd be surprised, the number of businesses that just sign the document because they're so desperate, frankly, to get the business, to get the income, to keep on moving, growing, but they don't really read things. And so going back to what we said before, they get in a bind, we get a phone call, I ask for the contract, I read it, and I literally say, why did you sign this? Most business owners say, I didn't know I had a choice.
Wow.
And so hopefully when we get involved, we'll look through those things. And some of the biggest issues are choice of venue, what law applies, insurance requirements. All those are pretty huge topics. And so again, if you get into an issue, do you really want Washington state law to apply? Do you really want to haul your cookies up to New York for some federal court case? Not really. Do you really want to waive your jury trial? Do you really want to go to arbitration? All those things are valid and enforceable in Texas, and if you've signed off on it, it's presumed you've read it, it's presumed you've understood it, and it's going to be enforced.
You are responsible for what you sign, right?
Exactly. And, most business owners don't really get that. And I would say 9 times out of 10, I'll get a client who says, well, I didn't really understand that, so how do we attack it?
Well,
and unfortunately, the answer is it's very, very hard, if not impossible.
Well, you've used the term as from the business owner, where let's say they make widgets as a classic example. You've said that, and I think what happens is that when you make a widget, we'll say, and in that making of it, then you want to sell it. So you get so excited about the marketing, and then you get even more excited when someone says, sure, I want this, here's the contract, and then they can't wait to sign it. And they get into trouble that way. So caution is certainly in order here, and I guess people need to realize they have a choice, and they should really consult someone like you. And this is just a great reason to have you on that regular retainer.
We think so, and so many clients, I think, just get skittish because they don't want to spend that much money. They're so afraid of those big bills. They're just barely making payroll. What do? Well, there's options out there, and we hope that we're one that the average business owner can say, hey, you know what, let's give it a shot.
Indeed. Now, what size businesses, Mark, are you serving out there? Is there a size range?
Well, that's a good question. We have some clients who are what I would call mom and pop shop, 1 or 2 employees, or a sole proprietorship that we set up as a corporation or an LLC, and there's 1 or 2. I have some clients who are, I would say, 60 to 80 employees and $25 to $30 million a year companies. So it really, crosses the gamut, but here's the deal. When you water it down, all the issues are the same, whether you're a 1 or 2 person LLC or a 100-person corporation. Those issues are generally going to be the same, and I'm going to get sort of the same questions.
Mm-hmm. Now, at this point in time, how are you finding the economic climate right here in Houston from your perspective as an attorney?
Yeah, Kevin asks me that frequently throughout the year. What I typically say is it depends on, the oil prices. So many of my clients are in the service industry, and several are services to oil businesses. Many of them in the last year have actually either shut down or filed bankruptcy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not good. In the meantime, also, Mark, let's tell them again, the KrasneyLawFirm.com. And if you were to speculate and look ahead, here we already finished the first quarter. What are you seeing concerns that are out there that are on people's mind?
I think it's really how to spend money and making sure their business stays relevant and to still be able to grow. I think people right now are just skittish. If they haven't shut down, they're probably in a good position, but what do they do tomorrow to make sure they're still there? What about 6 months from now? What about a year from now? And then how do they diversify? That's really what I see a lot now.
Very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Marc Krasney. And once again, Mark, tell them the website, please.
Yeah, you bet. It's KrasneyLawFirm.com.
Very nice. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, The Price of Business, Bill Knapik sitting in for Kevin Price. Thank you, Marc Krasney. We're going to take a short break and come right back. Stay tuned. We're coming back with even more.